Hey everyone, it's me Shimon and welcome to episode 11 of yet another tech podcast. This week, we have Sandeep from Revatlas. The whole discussion is pretty awesome. It ranges from MWC to device leaks to balding, torrents, using pen drives in school, and even subscribing to PewDiePie. So, hop along the ride, it's going to be awesome. Okay, so for those who don't know you, why don't you just introduce yourself to the people out there?
Okay, so introduction. I would say that I'm a content creator, but at the end of the day, perhaps I'm a businessman. I think that's what I would like to call myself now, because there's so many different content that I kind of create these days, like photos, videos, both on YouTube and off YouTube. So that kind of blurs the lines between what I do exactly. So at the end of the day, I'm here to make money. So I would say I'm a businessman at the end of the day. So it's just that I am more related to the media side of things. So probably the most tangible form in which people would have seen me is through the YouTube channel, Revatlas. We do tech reviews primarily. We also are planning and kind of did a few automobile videos in the past and might do in the future. But for now, tech is the main, focus for us.
That is great. Okay, so before just talking about MWC and all, which device are you currently using as your daily driver?
Daily driver is the Pixel 3 XL.
Okay.
I'm sure you would know why, because the camera is just so good,
I'm literally using Pixel 3 right now.
Yeah, so I'm sure then you know exactly what I'm talking about, because regardless of what phone that I go to, what phone I review, or what phone like I might think of purchasing, at the end of the day, for me, the camera is like the number one priority on a smartphone. And everything else is like secondary. So I'm sure even you have some issues with the Pixel 3, especially battery life wise. Even the 3 XL is not sufficient for me battery life wise, but I kind of ignore all those aspects just because the camera is so good.
So surprisingly, I was keeping a tab of all the problems that Pixel 3 and Pixel 3 XL were facing.
Yeah.
But I'm not facing too many problems per
Yeah.
se. Like the only issue so far I faced is while I was in Andaman, I was clicking a portrait mode photo.
Yeah.
And the shutter button just grayed out for like 5 seconds. That's the only issue I've faced so far.
Yeah, actually, I know what you're talking about, because for me, now with my son, I kind of go crazy with the portrait mode or any sort of photo, because it's very important that you capture like each and every moment. Or like there might be like a split second where he's smiling and the next he's crying. So I try and capture that perfect moment, and sometimes it just doesn't capture. But then again, I guess it's the buffer, right? It's kind of reaching its limit where it can't capture any more photos without actually processing whatever you have captured so far. But in terms of capturing the right moment, that's another reason why I love the Pixel, because it takes photos all the time, and by the time you press the shutter button, there's a very high chance that you actually captured the perfect moment. In any other phone, you have a very high chance of actually missing out that moment. So the Pixel really works well that way. And yeah, overall problems for me also have been okay. I think this is one, like you said, but other than that, maybe sometimes it's sluggish if you have like loads of apps open in the background. I think they could have just fit 6 GB of RAM and we would have been fine, but they didn't do that. Yeah,
That actually would have like solved 90% of the issues.
yeah. So
The best part about Pixel I like is like you just shoot and you forget. You don't have to like manage everything. Like, okay, I have to set the exposure right and everything.
Exactly.
Just click and forget about it.
Yeah.
Okay, so MWC is really near. It's literally next week, if I recall correctly. Yeah, next week. So which particular device are you most looking forward to at MWC?
At MWC, okay, so I don't know if the Samsung announcement happening on 20th can be considered as part of MWC.
Yeah, might as well just include it because it's
Yeah.
in the MWC phase.
Yeah, correct. So I think probably the Galaxy foldable phone, whatever it's going to be called. I've heard that it's going to be called the Galaxy Wonder, which is Winner. Sorry.
Winner.
Yeah, that's like a really lame name. I kind of hated the name, because for a device that's supposed to be so unique and so forward-thinking, it's very self-descriptive. And imagine it turns out to be a flop. What do they do then?
Well, it's not a winner then.
Yeah, exactly. Because I'm sure the price is going to be through the roof, and the number of people buying a device like that, especially in the first generation, are not going to be many, right? I mean, I personally might just get it if I can afford it, that is, because the technology is so advanced, I guess. This is, of course, without even knowing anything about the phone. The S10 has been leaked all over the place. You know every single detail about the S10 series, all three phones. But then this is still kind of a mystery. And if it's kind of like what they showed at the developers conference, then it's a bit less exciting, because that had big bezels up front.
Didn't it look like a communicator device from Nokia, like N90 or something?
No, the N90 was a camera, this thing. You mean the E90?
Oh god. Yeah, E90, sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, it kind of looked like a communicator device.
Yeah, I think it's the form factor, right? I mean, the form factor. I do have the E90 and the E7 as well. So it definitely does take you back to those smartphones, and I guess that's why I'm really excited about that. But overall, I don't know whether it'll be as unique as that, because back then you didn't have many other devices which had a foldable form factor with a huge screen on the inside and with a full QWERTY keypad as well. But now I'm guessing that more manufacturers are going to be bringing foldable phones. Even Huawei is supposed to bring out one, and LG also apparently. So although I think the implementations might be different,
that's the most interesting part. Like, there is no certain formula of sorts to create a foldable display. Foldable smartphone. So everyone is trying anything else. Like, the most interesting so far I've found is the Xiaomi device, which folds from the both sides. That look really nice.
And but I don't understand the exact need for it to fold that way instead of the other way around. I guess it just probably makes it one whole display rather than having two displays inside and one on the outside, that kind of a thing. But I also didn't see any cameras on that. So,
well, it was a prototype, so they might have just removed it. Like, okay.
Possibly it's just a a reference design or something. But yeah, like you said, that's kind of very interesting that people are going different approaches, and I like that, because back in the day, like you said, when the Nokia devices were there, Sony Ericsson and Samsung, a pre-smartphone or pre-touchscreen era basically, all these phones had really unique form factors. There was so much innovation going on, especially in terms of the design and the way the phone is built. But nowadays it's more or less about the selfie camera or the notch and stuff like that, things that I don't really care. At the end of the day, for me, it's more about what's tangible rather than stuff that looks good on paper. So
correct. Like, if you recall back in the Nokia days, every single phone was unique. There was no series, so as to say. Like, of course, they had like numerical series and all, but there was no design similarity. Every single smartphone was a different design.
I agree. Like even the N90, as you mentioned earlier, N90 was like, it was a flip phone at the end of the day, but it had a swiveling camera on the top, so that allowed you to take really high resolution selfies, because there was no front camera at the time. You could do vlogs and stuff like that. Then came the N93, which kind of removed the top swivel thing, but the display itself turned in a different kind of way, So overall, like you said, right now, if you kind of look, say, at the S series, for example, from the S6 all the way to S10, while the bezels have gotten smaller, display has gotten bigger, the hardware has improved, the basic shape remains the same, which kind of is bad and boring. You don't have any sort of surprise like you did back in those days.
Correct. I totally agree. So just comparing the three smartphones, like the S10e, S10 and the S10 Plus, which one of those do you like would be the most appealing towards the consumers?
I think probably the S10e, because judging by how the prices have been going up for most smartphones, especially in the higher end segment, I think a lot of people might not, at least not many people will be buying the high end devices. If you can definitely afford it, especially in a country like India, most people would just go for an iPhone. So if Samsung is going to price, say, the S10 Plus, the ceramic edition, at over 1 lakh, I'm not sure how many people would actually go for it.
Yeah, because those who want to just go for a premium smartphone, they just order an iPhone.
Yeah, exactly. So those people, the mindset is such that they don't care about the specifications, they don't care about what feature it has. They're like, what's the latest iPhone, what's the top end model, what's the color I like, just order it, that's it. They don't care about anything else. For them, features and this spec war and stuff, it doesn't really matter. It's only when you come down the lower end segment or the mid range is when people care about these things.
Yes, correct. So this might sound odd, but the best thing I like about S10e is the flat display. I don't like the curved display on like S9, S8, S10. I don't like those curved edges. Do you like prefer curved screens?
Not really. Actually, I used to prefer it at one point of time, but then I realized it's not because I actually prefer curved screens, but because Samsung generally has the best display on a smartphone. So, getting a top of the line smartphone from Samsung meant that you got a curved display. That's about it. It's not that I really enjoyed it. Especially I notice in some apps like Instagram, if you're framing, an upload, you kind of miss out the edges. So it has happened to me, especially I think on the S6 Edge, which was the first device I had with the curved edges, where I kind of uploaded a photo and then I would see that, oh shit, there's actually something on the left or right side that was not supposed to be there. And I didn't notice it. And I actually saw it on some other phone when I was reviewing it. And I was like, how did I miss that out? Then I noticed it's because of the curved edges.
Okay. So a little quick detour for a while. Are you experiencing any terrible compression issues in Instagram these days?
No, not that I know of. I mean, it's been the same more or less for a long time. I mean, they had a major overhaul, I think, a few years back. Since then, it's remained more or less the same for me. I mean, obviously, you don't get the full quality. None of these social media networks do that. But I've not noticed it come down quite a bit. But I've seen actually your tweets and even a few other people tweeting the same thing.
Yeah, like even recently, like since the past few weeks, I've seen like even more people have like suddenly started tweeting about it. Like, hey, the compression has gone really bad. Like when Instagram stories had just launched, the quality then was impressive.
Okay.
And now,
so you mean this is on the story front, not on the
both stories and normal posts.
Now that you mention it, I think story, I think I do notice it. I mean, probably it was subconscious, but I think the quality has decreased story wise. But the regular feed uploads, I think it's still the same. I mean, at least for me.
Do you like specifically render out the image at like 1080p or just go with your 4K image and all?
The full thing doesn't really work and it kind of takes up too much storage on the phone. But I generally have a 1440p size. That's what I exported at. 1080p, I don't know. I just feel that 1440p is a bit better.
No, well, I actually was talking about the Instagram post. Like, suppose you have a photo which is 4000 into 3000 pixels, right?
Yeah.
So, do you like specifically downsize it to say 1920 by 1080?
So if I've actually shot something using my DSLR or some other camera and then I'm getting it onto the phone, then yes, I do resize it, and that's why I meant like I resize it down to 1440p. But if I'm shooting on the phone and I'm editing on the phone and posting on the phone, then no, I don't make any changes. I just export it at the full resolution and upload it at the full resolution, which of course will still get compressed.
I just went down in the rabbit hole and found a conspiracy thread in Reddit where people like trying out like, hey, what if happens like if the image is natively full resolution or they post it in like 1080p or something 480p, and then the conclusion was it doesn't matter, it still gets compressed. So might as well just post the full resolution photo. What gives?
I mean, at least you have a higher chance of it becoming better
with the full resolution.
Yes.
But isn't it like counterintuitive? Like Instagram is a photo sharing site first.
Yeah.
They should not include compression. Like I guess it's fine for Twitter and Facebook. Because they're like
that's true.
text first.
That's a nice way to think about it, because Instagram, I mean, the photo is the center, and I don't think they should be compressing, at least not as much as these other websites. But then again, if you look at the sheer number of photos that people upload every day, I mean, I know that, if you look at our circle of people in the tech, this thing itself, the number of photos we upload is huge.
Yes.
So on the larger scale of things, I don't know if they have the bandwidth to kind of accommodate, higher resolution or full resolution photos like that.
Yes, that's true. Okay, so let's circle back to MWC stuff. So, are you looking forward to any other smartphones, like other than Samsung?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always excited, and this year particularly seems more exciting compared to the other years of MWC. I would say, the last MWC I attended was in 2017, but even that was kind of dry and a bit boring, and I think 18 was worse. So now when you look at it, 2019 seems to be pretty good. After a long time, I think we're getting some innovation back, and there are several things that I'm looking forward to. One being the Huawei P series, because the 2018, the P20 series essentially, they kind of came very close to the Pixel devices in terms of the overall photo, the look and feel. The Mate 20 Pro kind of took it a step ahead, and now the gap between the Pixel series and Mate series, or the Huawei devices, the flagship devices, is very small. So if they kind of improve their software processing a bit more, I think that possibly, there might be an alternative to the Pixel. So that's one thing I'm looking forward to. And I also see some other teasers happening from brands such as Nubia. I saw that Nubia is bringing out a Flex device. So some rumors say it's actually a smartwatch that flexes around, which has a flexible battery. I'm not sure how true that is, but if that's true, that's something that's going to be really interesting as well.
You remember that Lenovo Flex device, which was like a watch band kind of thing? They showed it off once last year, or was it the year before?
Was it a concept?
I don't know. They just showed it off for like 6 seconds and then like, okay, let's move on with the show. A lady was, the MC was wearing it, and then they shone the light over her, and she was talking to someone else. Then they said, okay, let's move on to the next topic. So it was very...
Maybe it was accidental. Maybe she had a Titan watch and they were like, zooming on it.
Maybe, who knows?
Yeah.
Well, everybody wants to get on the Flex train. So
Yeah,
they're like two hottest stuff in 2019. One is the 5G. So everybody will be paying 5G tax in 2019. It's like there'll be every device will be higher price because it supports 5G, and 5G won't be here till 2020 or even beyond that.
Yeah. No, and then I think even the punch hole or the display cutout, that's also going to be a trend this year, because many people don't want the notch nowadays.
Yeah. So I was discussing with Nick in the last episode about notches and hole punch displays.
Yeah.
What do you prefer, notches or hole punch?
I think hole punch for sure, because it's less surface area that's occupied by something on the screen, right? And it's also more towards the corner where things aren't as important. For example, if you have somewhere in the middle of the video, generally something might be there that's important when you're watching a video, for example. But then if it's at the corner, there's very less chance of something being there. Probably a watermark. That's probably the only thing that's going to get cut out there, and that's still okay, I think. As long as you don't lose out on content, it's still fine. And I think it's also easier to accept it. Like certain notches are so big that it takes a few days or even weeks to get used to, but the cutout is kind of very easy. From day one, you're kind of used to it. So
yes, the worst offender of the notch problem is Pixel 3 XL. Like,
yeah,
what were they thinking?
Yeah, but then again, it's back down to the camera itself, right? The camera is so good that regardless of what they do to it, you're fine with it. It's like a mom loving her kid, regardless of how stupid the kid is or how annoying the kid is. The mom will still love the kid. So regardless of what the Pixel is, as long as it takes good photos, I'm okay with it. Or like most people are okay with it.
True. So I would call Pixel 3 as the best Android smartphone, but not perfect. Not perfect at all.
Yeah. No, it's not perfect. It's far from perfect, but I think we just live with it because of the photos.
One of the most underappreciated thing about Pixel 3 is the haptic feedback. It's so good.
No, I have actually just disabled it. The reason being that the battery life is horrible with that on. So as it is, I'm getting really bad battery life. I'm having to charge the device like twice a day or thrice a day, in fact. And because of that, if I switch that on, I think I'd have to have a power bank connected at all times. So
that's interesting. I might as well just try it once for a week, I guess.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, I love the haptic feedback. I would just...
It is good, yeah.
I just pull up the app drawer and then close it back, open it again. It feels good. It's nice.
True.
So talking about the hole punch display, do you prefer the hole in the left hand side corner, in the middle, or the right hand side corner?
I actually don't care, I think. But one thing I noticed when I used the View 20, for example, was that at times when I'm using the phone with two hands, I tend to keep the phone on my right hand and swipe or do stuff with my left hand. So in those cases, when I'm swiping down the notification bar, I always do it from the upper left corner. That's not something that I noticed that I was doing on any other device, and it didn't matter. But on this particular phone, the issue was that it kind of smudged the camera each and every time I did that. So it took a few days for me to stop doing that. So that was the only issue I found with having the camera on the left side. I kind of assumed that, having it on the left side or, offset to one side would create weird looking selfies, but that didn't really happen. That was still fine. It was just this small thing that I noticed. At the end of the day, I think perhaps for OCD sake, having one in the center would definitely be appreciated. But I think most of the implementation so far has been either left or right.
Yeah, the first one would be the S10.
Yeah. But then again, like I said, probably right or left is still better, because when you're watching video, if it's in the middle, again, there's a higher chance of something being cut out. That's important. But if it's in the left or right, then again, it's a corner and should be okay. So maybe that's the advantage of having it offset.
Yeah, like as compared to a notch, at least it looks aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah, definitely.
So, did you just see the leaks of Xiaomi Mi 9?
Yeah, I did. I actually saw the latest post also, where they showed the new iridescent color. And that looks really good. I mean, the color looks good. I quite like that now the manufacturers are going back to, wonderful colors. Back in the day when Nokia was there, you had some crazy colors.
Oh, yes.
The Lumia 1020 is yellow, the N9 cyan and red, and all these things look so beautiful. And now I'm glad that we are going back. So I think Huawei started this trend. Firstly, they brought back blue. Then now they started the gradient design, and now everyone's doing gradient.
Yeah, everybody wants that Aurora gradient design.
Which is nice. Why not? I mean, why have plain boring black, I mean, it was good for a while. I also remember back then, there was a time where all smartphones were white or silver, and then black became like the cool thing. So everyone was like, I need a black edition. There was the N82 black edition, there was the N95 8GB, which was available only in black. N95 regular one didn't have black colors. And then black again got boring. So then people again went back to white, and it just keeps happening. But now finally we're back to colors. I think whatever trend that you see in the smartphone industry, especially the IR blaster, that thing was like, I'm not sure how much you have used it as a kid.
Oh, I used it a lot.
But yeah, I still remember, me and my friends just holding devices together, sending some file like 4 MB in size. It takes like 5-6 minutes at least.
And then once you just break the connection, you're like, oh
yes,
shit, you have to start again.
It's gone. and that was the most frustrating part. But and I still remember even using it as a remote back then. I remember the first device I tried that with was the Nokia 6600. It had a IR port on the left side, I think. And that kind of, was fun because I could use it as a remote. And I used to do this thing where I used to go to a supermarket and they used to have TVs there. So I grew up in Bahrain. So they used to have this whole electronics section. So I go to a supermarket, I go to the electronics section, parents go do grocery shopping, whatever. So I go there and there'll be people trying out TVs and stuff. Think of it as a Chroma or a Reliance Digital. So go to a TV section, just switch off TVs there. So while the salesman is demonstrating something, just switch it off.
We've all done that.
Yeah, he would be like, what the heck is happening, And now when I think of it, the customer might be like, this guy is trying to sell this TV, but it's so unreliable that it keeps switching off each and every time. How can I ever buy this, That was a fun part, yeah. And now again...
I'm also guilty.
Yeah. See, so I think that was a fun thing to do when we were kids. And now it's coming back on and off again. On some smartphones you have it, some smartphones you don't have it. But I think it should be included in everything. I mean, how much of space does it actually take, in the entire thing? But
you never know. Until and unless Apple adds it, there's no chance.
Yeah, Apple have done it with the IR scanner. And the funny thing is, I actually get a lot of people asking me, can the Poco F1 infrared sensor be used to control, TV, for example?
Wow.
I said, it's not meant for that. No, it's not. Because the Poco F1 doesn't have an IR sensor, right? So a lot of people still want it. So anytime they hear the word infrared, they think that that's what it's meant to do. So
yeah, same terms, but not so same.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know if you saw this also. The other day I said that the Samsung M20, it doesn't support 5 GHz wireless bands. Mm-hmm. And one guy started bad-mouthing me in the comment section. He's saying like, tell me which phone supports 5G in this price range. So I thought he just wrote 5G quickly. And I listed out all the smartphones that kind of support 5 gigahertz wireless networks. At the end, he's like, none of the phones support 5G in this segment. I was like, oh God, I actually understood what you mean now. I never realized you actually meant 5G as in 5th generation.
Oh God.
What I was talking about was totally different. So that's a huge problem. You know, terms that sound similar or seem similar but mean totally different things. So
Samsung somehow or the other manages to, remove some sensors or some basic stuff. Like you don't realize like 5 gigahertz is important, but like I have like a dual band router at home. So I have like 5 gigahertz, 2.4 gigahertz. I'm on 5 gigahertz. Everybody else is in 2.4 gigahertz. So I get dibs on the high speed internet.
That's good. Yeah, I mean, even for me, that's the same thing. But see, at the end of the day, what I've come to understand is people who buy Samsung devices, especially in the lower end segments, are people generally higher up in the age bracket. Mm-hmm. So they don't care about these things, which is fine. But as a reviewer, it's my job to kind of list these things out, right?
Correct.
If I just remain mum about it, then there'll be people in the comment section saying that, hey, you didn't mention this. So either way, you're going to get kind of criticism or negative feedback. But at the end of the day, you have to do what you have to do. So, and that's a major point for some people. So I still remember, I think it was the Zenfone Max Pro, M1 or one of these other phones. I remember 4 people distinctly saying that they didn't buy this phone because that wasn't there and they really needed it. So like you, like me, if you need high-speed internet and you don't have it, it kind of sucks. So that's definitely a deal breaker for many. So it's always worth mentioning it.
So what's your current internet speed right now? The last I checked, it was 100 Mbps?
I have a gigabit internet here.
Oh.
Yeah.
Of course, you need 5 gigahertz.
Yeah.
So how much are you paying for it?
It's, if you go by per month basis, around 7K. But I think if you buy it for 12 months, you get like 2 months free. But then for me, it's both work and personal, right? So that's why it's still fine. I can justify the cost.
But still like 7K for a month. Wow.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's gigabit then.
If you also look at, so we also have unlimited cloud storage on Google Drive because we have a corporate account. Nice. Every single clip that we shoot, we back up to the cloud. So that's kind of more cost effective for us than having a local NAS or something like that, because the amount of content, if you know that shooting 4K, how much it consumes, it's crazy. Yeah. I don't know how MKBHD does it, but his would be even more off the charts, I guess.
He shoots in 8K and then downsizes it to 4K.
Yeah, which is crazy. Shooting in 8K, I can't imagine.
Oh God, my laptop would freeze.
It would show it as a photo instead of a video.
Yes, it will be seconds per frame, not frames per second. So I shot everything in Andaman. I borrowed my friend's GoPro.
Yeah.
So it is GoPro Hero 7 Black. So I shot everything in 4K 60 FPS. Okay. It was working perfectly fine on my smartphone.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. Once I imported the footage on my laptop, I'm like, this is not working well.
Yeah. And again, I think the GoPro doesn't really capture very high bitrate, so that's surprising. But then 60 FPS.
Apart from smartphones, are you excited about any new technology, like new upcoming technology? One thing that really excites me is the ultrasonic fingerprint scanner.
Okay.
As opposed to optical in-display fingerprint scanner.
Right. Yeah, it definitely makes sense because all the current implementations are kind of slow or buggy or not as accurate. I think that's one thing I really miss on the 6T compared to the OnePlus 6. Because the OnePlus devices before, when they had the ceramic scanners, were quite literally the fastest around. But now with kind of, the in-display one, it's still fast, but, nothing like before. So, yeah. And also the ability, I don't know if you saw the new S10 tweets. Apparently the screen protector is going to have a cutout.
Mm-hmm. I saw that. I was about to bring that up.
Yeah, that looks so ugly. I hope that's not real because that's going to be a pain to use, especially when swiping or something like that. I don't know why they've done it that way.
I think that was for training purposes, I guess. I'm not sure. If it's really a retail unit like that, that's going to be really bad.
Training purposes. So it's like training wheels for kids.
No. Training purposes for the retail guys.
Oh, okay.
Because the photos seem like, suppose like Chroma got a shipment of new S10 devices and they're having a training session.
Right. Yeah,
that's what I thought.
That kind of makes sense, I guess. But Okay, let's see what actually happens. I mean, I hope it's just that, and I hope that they don't actually bundle a screen protector that's that way. And I hope that we can actually use regular screen protectors, because that brings up the point of having the edges also curved, because none of the tempered glasses actually work with curved screen phones. That is the major downside that I've seen with curved edges. Because I've actually had, I think, 3 screen protectors in the past for certain devices. I bought tempered glass ones. I've had even multiple review units, and they all claim that they work, but it never works. It never works. Each and every single time, there's some gap, and you literally have to press it like you're pressing a keyboard in order to get something done on it.
Remember back in the days, those resistive touchscreens?
Yeah, kind of like
Just
that.
like that.
But probably even worse, because this physically you had to move the protector, and then you had to kind of make the input.
Wow.
In the other one, the screen still moved, but yeah.
So I was under the impression that ultrasonic in-display fingerprint scanner works over a big area. So I thought like lower 1/3 of the display would be whole area for fingerprint scanning, but apparently it's the same as the optical one.
But I think it depends on the surface area of the scanner, right? I've seen some examples where they were showcasing. I'm not sure if it was Vivo or some other brand, but yeah, like you said, the lower bottom 1/3, the entire surface area has been used as the fingerprint scanner.
I think it was the original Vivo Apex which had the whole.
No. This was
display.
like recent, like 2019 kind of thing.
Okay.
But I think it's possible as long as you have the tech underneath to support it. But then ultrasonic is definitely better, because one, it's more accurate, it's faster, and two, it can even detect through all these dirt and if your finger's wet, stuff like that. So it's definitely a step ahead, but when we'll see it is the next question. I think smartphone manufacturers also kind of similar to car manufacturers, they don't like rolling out everything all at once. Yes. They kind of like giving step by step to show that there's something worth upgrading for. I remember my previous car, the Octavia I had purchased. I mean, the European variant had much more features. You're paying a fraction of the price, and you still got more features and stuff. But when it comes to India, what they do is they remove some of the features, and some of the features they disable it. So if you have access to the system, the diagnostic tool, you can actually enable some of the features. And one of the features was this driver fatigue alert. So they launched a new model a year later and enabled it. So they didn't have to even bring out any new hardware, nothing like that. But they just enabled it from their end out of the factory. So you could even do the same thing on my car, but that just gave them one more term to market. And they just kind of drive sales using that method. So many of the features, they enable it later on. So imagine like having some feature like this on your phone. Say there's a display fingerprint scanner, but it's disabled. It's kind of like what's happening, with smartphones these days. I think they can possibly bring out something so much better, but they would like to do it like in half yearly cycles, so that more people buy stuff. And that's the way they sell phones, I guess.
Somewhat close to how during the mid-refresh cycle of Pixel 2, they announced, it also has a Pixel visual core. Everybody went nuts, like, what? Yeah. It had a visual core unit inside the phone itself.
Yeah, that's true. I also remember the N95 8GB. It actually had an accelerometer at the time, which was said to be available only on the iPhone, the first original iPhone. And everyone was like, iPhone has this. It can auto-rotate the display. We were like, oh, wow, that's amazing, auto-rotating. and then suddenly the Nokia's like, we have it too. And then there was an application that kind of made use of it. It was, I don't remember the name actually. So it showcased how the accelerometer works. And then later people started building apps that utilized it. So it was there. It's just that they didn't think people would care about it. And when they found out that people do care, they're like, we also have it.
It was too late till then.
Yeah.
I still remember like Asphalt racing games. So they included, you can now turn car by tilting your phone. Yeah. People went crazy, like, what? It's just like a real steering wheel.
It's magic.
Another quick detour for a while. Are you subscribed to PewDiePie?
I am. Yeah.
It's a very important question.
Yeah, I am. But I honestly don't watch much of his content. I used to, like, at one point of time, I think 4-5 years back, but not anymore.
Yeah, like I was also subscribed way back then, but
Yeah.
it's interesting how he keeps his content fresh and
Yeah.
changes it accordingly, like year after year.
I think that's a reason for his success, right? Because he doesn't stick to one thing. He kind of evolves, experiments. But I also noticed that his subscribers or fans are actually very loyal, very encouraging that way. Generally, when you try new stuff, it's mostly met with criticism or kind of backlash. But his people, they're kind of like always supportive. You know, even if something is bad, they say that, okay, this might not be so good, but you can do it this way, or they just blindly accept it.
So the best thing is, all those who watch his content and know what he's talking about, it's like everybody knows the sarcasm behind it. And those who don't get the sarcasm, they're the ones who like get enraged over the fact like, hey, you said something this or something that.
True. Yeah.
Are you subscribed to T-Series?
No, I'm not.
Very well. Even I'm not subscribed to T-Series.
Yeah.
I don't like their content.
I mean, it's songs at the end of the day. I mean, I generally don't go to YouTube much to watch songs. I just use some music streaming service. But in the rare occasion also, I just search for it. I don't really subscribe to a particular this thing, you know. Maybe in there's Sony Music, there's T-Series, there's so many different ones. I don't know which movie is going to be coming out with which partner, so it doesn't really help. So.
Correct. So which music streaming service are you using right now?
Currently using Apple Music. And I kind of tried a few others, Ghana and all the other ones back then. This was, I think, 2 years back or so. Just when Apple Music launched. And until then, I was someone who kind of preferred to have music files locally stored. So, and then when I tried this, I kind of liked the convenience of it. So I just switched over to it. And ever since I've been using Apple Music. Many people have told me to try Spotify, but haven't tried it yet. So maybe sometime soon. Yeah.
After this recording, I will just send you the link to try Spotify.
Sure.
Yeah. The secret way, the dark way.
Okay.
Because I like, just like you, I was the local, just keeping the MP3 files locally on your smartphone kind of guy.
Yeah.
But then I was enlightened and started using Spotify, and I've never looked past since then. So I've tried like Ghana, Savan, even Geo Music.
I think it was also a matter of time, right? Because not time, more of data. Because there was a time where data was really precious, and you couldn't afford to stream stuff, right? So it's the same thing with movies also. I remember back the oldest memory that I have was of me burning DVDs.
Oh yes.
So I torrents. Yeah, let's talk about torrents. So I download torrents, particularly AXO rips. And I used to burn them onto DVDs, so we could get like 4, maybe 5 movies, I think, onto DVDs. And I used to have this huge pouch with all these movie rips, and we used to have this competition in school about who has the biggest collection of DVDs. So yeah, that was something I was proud of. And the funny thing is, after a while, the DVDs really stopped working. So caught on. Then I used to have hard disks with all these movie rips. And then, there was a time where when I was studying filmmaking, I was like, this doesn't seem right, why are we pirating all this stuff? But, back then you can't really afford stuff. You can't really afford to buy each and every film, DVD or whatever it is. So now all these streaming services are there. It makes life so much easier and, legal also.
Yes, totally.
Yeah.
Do you recall a time in your childhood where you could go to the market and they were like, people just selling DVDs with like latest movies?
Yeah. I still see it. I mean, I have cousins or like relatives who still buy these things from railway stations or the bus stops. So I know this this cousin of mine, I think it was last year. So he bought this DVD of some movie. And he's like, hey, I just got this latest release and stuff. I was like, why? You can get this online. And he's like, no, this is unreleased and stuff like that. Then I showed him the same thing. I'm like, see, it's available for streaming. You can just get it. He's like, oh, is it? Okay. He's like, anyway, just try this. I was like, I don't have a optical drive. I don't have a DVD drive. So he's like, what about that big computer that you have? So he was talking about the CPU. I said, I don't have it on that either. So I said, no one uses CDs or DVDs. He's like, oh, okay, wait. Then he said he has his laptop. So he got his laptop, and in that, he put the CD in, and nothing was there. It was just a blank disc at the end of the day. So yeah, he paid like $40-$50 for a blank CD. But then they had done some printing and some cover and stuff like that. So
remember the time when people used to think like, okay, if you just drag and drop something to the CD drive, it would just come.
yeah.
I learned it the hard way.
Okay. Yeah. I remember having softwares to
Nero.
Nero. Yes, and
Nero.
there was one more. Cyberlink also was there.
Oh yes, Cyberlink.
Yeah,
that's correct.
Cyberlink was used as a player also. So
back in the days when we used to have DVD readers, DVD players.
Yeah, I remember first I had a CD player, then I got a CD writer, then I got a DVD player and CD writer. Then I was like, no, I need DVD writer, So I saved up money. I was like, this is really important, and that's when all burning DVDs started.
And then pen drive showed up.
Yeah, but initially they were really small. I mean, in terms of the capacity. So
the longest memory I have is of owning a pen drive which was 128 MB. I lost my mind. Like, wow, I can keep 128 MB in my pocket. That's so awesome.
I also had one. No, I had actually a 32 MB one. And it was written that it's waterproof and shockproof. So I was blown away. I was like, this is amazing. 32 MB. I was like, but I think I put 4-5 songs in it. That's about it. Yeah. The main advantage of a USB drive was actually in school, if you wanted to pass something to someone. If it's a CD, it's easy to get caught. But if it's a USB drive, you wouldn't really.
Oh, yes.
And some people, even they used to kind of tie it around their bags. And teachers wouldn't know what it is. So they're like, what is this? Hey, nothing. Keychain. Yeah, exactly. So it's just a keychain. So that's the major advantage, I think, of having a USB drive. So
have you been so hardcore that you brought floppy disks to school?
No. I'm not that old, actually. but
you're definitely older than me.
Yeah. but luckily not that old. But yeah, I do remember floppy disks. And I do remember that the first computer we ever had at home, it did have a floppy drive and a CD drive. So, yeah. And I was like, what is this?
Do you vaguely remember the specs by any chance?
The first computer?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so. It had 16 MB of RAM. Wow. It had 4 GB hard disk.
Wow.
Yeah, it was the Pentium 1, the first Pentium 1. And it had a 98, I think, on it. 98 or... Yeah. No, it had a 98, but shortly after that we got Windows Me 2000. Yeah, so it was around the year 2000. So right before this thing, we had a Windows Millennium or Me or whatever it's called.
Yeah, Millennium Edition.
Yeah. So that was dead slow, but I never used it much then. And I think towards the end, when I started using computers, that's when I was like, this is not going to work. It was like really, and with the huge CRT monitor, and I had that kind of filter that you put, to prevent
that's the typical Indian household filter.
Yeah. Luckily, my family was not so bad as to put a tablecloth or some kind of thing like that over it, but the filter was there. Yeah.
So for those who don't know, what the filter we are talking about is like a...
You can say it's like a ND filter, but it's not exactly an ND filter. It's more of... It's like an anti-glare filter. Yeah, that's what it is.
Anti-glare filter.
Yeah. So now what you have built into your glasses was there in front of your screen.
So hardcore.
Yeah.
The reason I wear specs is because my eyes have defect, right? But considering I was tech savvy since birth, so everybody used to speculate, like, oh, he has specs because he sits in the front of computer all the time.
Funnily, I just got specs, and now it's kind of annoying, and I hate it.
What?
But the thing is, I started wearing it, and now when I remove it, I'm going blind. Like I'm suddenly seeing everything out of focus. And I don't have much power. I have it like 0.25 in each eye now.
Interesting. So when I was 1.5 years old, both of my eyes had a power of 3.75.
Wow. Okay.
Now it's down to 0.5 and 0.75.
So you're like Benjamin Button.
Yeah, it's like magic. So people do ask me like, what was that special diet I took and all? I'm like, nothing. I just grew up, nothing else.
Okay, that's interesting. But that's a good way to go. I like, instead of going higher on the power, if you're coming down, that's always better. So.
My power will increase soon once I grow older.
Yeah.
I think. I don't
No,
know.
I mean at a certain age is okay. It's again like balding. For me also, I kind of went bald by the age of 23. That's crazy. So if you're going bald by the age of 40, still acceptable. But 23 is like, yeah, really early.
So, any other?
I like where we reached, from
Yes.
MWC all the way to going bald.
That's the diversity of the topics,
Yeah.
That's why I like informal discussions. You can discuss about anything.
Yeah. True. Yeah.
So, are you playing anything these days on your PS4?
I should be asking you that.
Yeah, on my imaginary PS4. Yeah, right.
No, man. I actually honestly don't game at all now. Like, I barely find the time to game. That's the sad part. Even having... Now I have an RTX 2080 this, but I don't game. So,
Wow.
it's all used for editing,
You might as well just flex on some people, Like, I got an RTX 2080, but I don't game. Humble brag.
Yeah, first world problem. Yeah.
First world problems, like,
No time, yeah.
no time. But for real though, you should try Apex Legends.
Yeah, I've been hearing that a lot, but finding time is the one thing I'm short on right now.
Yes. And I'm really glad you took out time today.
Yeah, no, that's it.
The overlords have blessed me with 1 hour.
No, I think it's also to do with priorities, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
True.
when I find time, when I'm free, I would generally like to catch up on movies or series, something like that, or spend time with family. But then again, that's a different time. So
Yes.
family time is something that I definitely keep aside. And then other recreational time, I generally tend to catch up on movies and series. And when that is done, then there's no more time left. So,
Yeah.
And gaming, it's not like something you can just start and stop, right?
Yes.
You need to have that sort of session where you sit in, kind of play, and it's been long since I had that. So that's the main reason. So you're not gonna sit and play for like 10 minutes and just come out. You're gonna sit and play for hours and hours. So
Because now it's not the the era of games where you can just pause and go do something and then come back.
Yeah. But hopefully sometime soon. Yeah, let's see. Especially I think once my son grows up and he wants to play games,
Oh, yes.
then I can kind of combine both.
Must be exciting, no? Like, did you used to game with your father?
No, actually, yeah. It's good that you brought this up because when I was growing up, I think maybe same for you also.
Yeah,
Especially when you installed some games on PC and there was something wrong with the PC. The PC is spoiled because you installed the game.
Yes.
That's the immediate this thing. You shouldn't
True.
be playing games on computer. It gets spoiled. That was the kind of household that I grew up in. So games
Same.
were kind of frowned upon. They didn't really encourage me to play games or anything. So it wasn't until like I graduated 12th, I guess, that I was able to play freely without any issues. Up until then, it's like you should study, you should do this. Movie watching, they were still fine with, but playing games, no, not so much.
But it'll be fun, playing with your son.
Yeah.
That would be really fun.
Definitely, yeah.
Like he'll be saying, I have a cool dad. So talking about movies and TV shows, which TV shows are you watching currently?
Currently, I don't know how this is gonna sound, but I watch This Is Us. It's a very family-oriented TV show, but pretty good writing, pretty good acting and stuff like that. That's one that I watch. Then of course Grand Tour, I'm watching that. Then what was the other one? There was one more.
Seems
I can't
interesting. So interesting that you forgot the title.
Yeah, there's one more, but that's about it. Again, like I said, it's like earlier if I used to binge watch so many different series, like say I used to watch like 10 series at one time. Now it's maybe come down to like 2 or 3. That's it. So everything has become much lesser in terms of consumption. So
Wow, like even I haven't binge watched like 10 series at once.
dude, I mean, I think you're at the age where you should be doing that.
No, I don't have the time to do that.
Okay,
Like still,
yeah,
like
so
even-
then maybe you exceeded that age.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, I mean there was a time I used to do all that. I used to watch like multiple movies a day, series a day, play games the entire day. But yeah, no, it was especially I think for me when I did filmmaking as a degree. So that's when I think I reached the peak because I could say that I'm studying, right? By watching films
Nice.
and TV series.
That is great.
Yeah.
What else do you want?
Yeah, technically I was studying. I mean, you do
Oh, yes.
research, you do get inspiration from all these things. So yeah, I think that definitely helps.
Any recent movies that you've watched which were like really nice?
I saw Tumbad actually, the Hindi one. It's actually really good. I quite liked it. It reminds me of Guillermo del Toro's movies, the entire art direction and stuff like that. I think that's one movie that surprised me. Many people said it's really good, but I didn't expect it to be this good. It kind of felt like a Hollywood movie rather than a Bollywood one, you know.
Interesting. I did hear people praising that movie.
Yeah, you should check it out. I mean, it is not exactly horror. It's kind of like a thriller. Some scares are there, but it's not really like horror. But it's a really good movie in terms of the story and everything. You know, they essentially create a whole world, a fictional world where some things exist, some things don't, stuff like that. So when you manage to kind of transport your audiences to that world and make them believe that it's real, that's when you know that you have a good movie, right? So this is one of those. I think that's the last notable movie that I liked.
So any movie that you're looking forward to?
Endgame, of course.
Oh yes, Endgame.
Captain Marvel. Other than that, I'm a huge Christopher Nolan fan, so whatever movie he's coming up with next, I'll be excited for it. But I don't know what that is, and generally he kind of has a hiatus after one movie.
Yes.
So he takes around 2 years, 3 years or something to come up with the next one. And actually, Dunkirk took quite a long time after, Dark Knight Rises. I mean, after Interstellar. But I was hoping that this time around the gap won't be as much, but it seems like it is, because so far I've not heard of any announcements happening from his front. So
that's indeed the issue, I guess. I won't call it issue, but yeah, that's the waiting period you gotta face.
Yeah.
Did you watch Alita Battle Angel? That
No.
looks pretty interesting.
I haven't seen that. Movie released or it's...
Yeah, it's released. It just got released this week.
Okay, that's the animated one, right?
Yeah, like photorealistic one.
Okay. Yeah. I think I heard a few people talking about it on social networks.
Yeah.
I didn't check it out yet.
Yeah, it's by James Cameron.
Okay.
The Avatar guy.
Oh, right. No,
Yes.
Dude, I know James Cameron. I studied filmmaking. It's not like you're talking about Bappy Larry that I won't know about him.
Oh God.
Yeah. But actually James Cameron, even Avatar was like insane for me. At that time when I saw the movie, I was really blown away because the story is very basic, but he managed to create something that's so unique, so beautiful, and that was definitely like one thing that I can't forget. And another movie of his, Terminator 2 Judgment Day, was like a huge movie in my childhood also. So
that's probably the best in the series for me, at least.
Yeah, same. I actually saw Judgment Day first, then I saw T3, then I saw the first one.
True.
Judgment Day was still the best. Yeah.
He announced that Avatar will get 4 more sequels. So Avatar 2, 3, 4 and 5.
Okay, after the 4th one, there's still 4 more.
No. Achha, you already know about the news, right? Like he has announced 4 sequels.
I thought it was 3. So what I remember, I was actually really blown away by Avatar, that I used to keep following every single development of it for several years. So I think it came in 2008, I think, right? So the initial schedule was supposed to be like 13, 14, 15 for it. Now it's 21, 22, 23, something like that.
Yes.
They keep pushing it every single year further and further. And first I remember he said there'll be 2 movies, then 3 movies, then 4, then again back to 3, 2. It's all over the place. So now at the end of it, I just wish that he comes with 1 movie at least. But that's interesting. If he can find a good enough storyline that supports all these movies, then yeah, why not? Yeah.
So let's circle back to MWC for a while.
Yeah.
Like what all devices did we miss out? Did you check out LG G8 ThinQ?
Yeah. I don't know, man. It just LG has lost it, honestly, because I saw the new one where the display doubles up as a speaker.
I'm not sure how people will like it.
Yeah, why? I don't understand. I don't understand whether that'll also have an issue when you're actually kind of, using the phone. Imagine you're playing song and using the phone. Will it have an issue when you're playing with the display? Because I know that they have the same technology in Sony TVs and even LG TVs, but then you're not touching the TV, right? You're not interacting with the TV. And the display is much larger where, there is more space for vibration, there's more area for sound to come. But on a smartphone, I don't know how much of a difference it makes. And LG is trying all these gimmicks and stupid stunts. They've been doing that ever since the G5. and all have been failing. They should just go back to the basics and do what they were doing right, but they don't seem to understand that.
Yeah, correct. They're like, for every generation, they're just trying something or the other.
Yeah.
For G5, they went with modularity. With
Yeah.
G6, but it's so forgettable then.
G6 was still okay, but I think the main issue was the Snapdragon 821, which was like previous generation at that time. That's
Yeah.
what kind of made it bad.
Mhm.
G7, I don't know. Now they're saying, I mean, the V40 and the G7 had triple cameras, I think, or
Yes.
just the V40 had, and now they're again going back to dual cameras. I'm not sure what is happening. And some reports even say that they're going to have the G8 and the V40 together. I mean, V50 together at MWC, which is
That-
again pointless. I don't know. So they're
That's going
just
to ruin a lot of things. Talking about cameras, did you see Nokia 9? It looks so interesting with 5 cameras.
only the cameras actually. Nothing else looks interesting. The cameras, because the display is just a regular display, I guess. Not much to talk about. There's no notch, which is a good thing, I guess. But
Yeah, but
there's
the early renders showed that it has a notch, and now
Okay.
now it's like it doesn't have a notch, which I'm fine with. Like,
yeah. No, I'm fine with having no notch either. But there's nothing else apart from the camera. But yes, the camera, as you said, is probably the most interesting thing and probably going to be really good. I hope so, at least, because so far whatever implementations we have had from Nokia have been okay, not
Hmm.
great, especially if you kind of compare the old Nokia and the new. So now with the pure view branding, I
Mhm.
hope is really good. You know.
the worst I've used is Nokia 8, the first generation.
Oh,
It was so
yeah,
bad.
that was
It
bad,
was
yeah.
so bad.
I think the software also has a lot to do with it. The
Yes.
processing is not really up to the mark, so they need to really work on that. Even
Now
just bringing
it's
the
better.
old camera app and just tweaking the processing, that itself might be good enough.
Now it's much better. Now even hardware wise, they have good
Yeah,
cameras.
yeah, yeah.
For the 8.1, 7 Plus, it was really nice. The Penta lens system is actually powered by light camera. You
Yeah.
remember the light camera,
Yeah,
the 16,
the
lenses
L16,
one?
yeah.
Hmm. It sounded pretty useless in my opinion. The 16 lens, but at least 5 is fine.
True, but I think that gave a focal length of around 18 to 300 mm, the L16, I think. So maybe this will have a shorter throw, maybe like 24 to 100 something. So maybe that's why lesser lenses. But if it does actually give somewhat, the results that you get from the light camera itself, it could work well, because the light camera was actually good in terms of that zoom range.
Hmm.
So this also, if it's able to do that, then yeah, that's a good thing. Maybe not the final solution, but definitely a step forward in terms of smartphone cameras.
So all of these multi-camera arrangement always crops up the question for me: how do social media apps handle this? Like, which camera do they select to use as the primary one? Like
okay,
for
so-
it's for the normal wide and telephoto, I get it. They just use the wide one. But
Yeah.
once you have multiple focal lengths, how do you
No, so
govern?
I think what's going to happen even in this case is that it's going to use the regular camera. I think there will still be a regular camera that captures a regular field of view or focal length. But at the end of the day, if you want to get that full zoom range, you will still have to use their own software, that is the Nokia camera app, in order to get the full results and the the quality. So I don't think I always tell people, don't use any social media app to capture photos with your camera. Use the default camera app and then kind of bring it onto social media apps. That's always the better way, because in most phones, that's why people, when they capture photos with WhatsApp or Instagram or Facebook, the quality never seems as good as when you do when you capture it directly from the camera.
Exactly, like that's what I preach as well. But some people just want to take photos via the
That's true.
Snapchat camera or the Instagram camera. Like, please, guys, no.
Yeah, I mean Snapchat fine, because who's there on Snapchat anyway, I guess.
No,
But-
specific people just use Snapchat.
But other services, yeah, definitely. I would also say just use the other thing. But then again, yeah, those are the kind of people who buy Samsung M20, I guess.
Shots fired.
Yeah.
Okay, let's switch gears to mirrorless cameras. Are you interested in mirrorless cameras?
Yeah, of course. I think they are the way forward. I mean, DSLRs were great and still are, some of them, but I think mirrorless clearly has its advantages when it comes to photography and even video. So I think there will be a time where DSLRs are totally phased out, especially for the consumers at least. But currently, I still think that there's a bit of an overlap, But maybe in a few years' time, mirrorless cameras will definitely be great. And until smartphones can overtake that, I think they will remain the primary sort of breadwinner for most people who are into media.
Yeah, like currently smartphones have already destroyed the digital cameras.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually seeing a report and a chart today. I think Bharat from Phone Arena, he had shared it. So that chart kind of showed how there's a huge decline in smartphone sales. So in 2003, there were actually almost thrice or twice as many digital cameras sold as there were in 2018. So that's a huge number, because considering how people's purchasing capacities have increased, how the internet, social media, all these things are more prominent now. If the cameras are declining so much, it just shows that smartphone cameras have become so much more better and more accessible. But at the end of the day, if you look at it from a creator's point of view, I think smartphone cameras have still a long way to go in terms of giving that the quality and that sort of adaptability that most dedicated cameras give. So
Correct. I totally agree. Did you check out the Canon EOS RP, which is the portable version of EOS R?
I actually didn't see the camera in detail, the specifications, none of it. I saw the announcement, but I generally am not a fan of Canon, especially not the mirrorless camera, so I don't really check them. For me, mirrorless right now, I feel Sony is the one who's doing the best.
Yes, Sony has had a really good track record of their mirrorless cameras. They didn't do well with their DSLRs. They only released like one generation, I guess, for the DSLR.
They did two. They had the SLR, then they had a SLT, which had a translucent or transparent mirror, those kind of things. But then again, mirrorless is what they really focused on, and they got it right. It's kind of like Sony in smartphones, right? Sony sensors are used in so many phones, but when Sony uses it in their own phones, it turns out to be shit. So it's kind of like that. So finally, when they did it right, the mirrorless cameras came out well, and they're continuing that. I hope they do the same in phones also, like, bring out the best quality that they can.
No, that's not really going to happen.
Yeah.
But I really hope so. If they
Yeah,
can leverage their own sensor in their smartphones, that would be great.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, no. Did you see the 21:9 display smartphone? That looks absurd.
Yeah. That looks crazy. It's really, really tall, but I also like it actually. If you notice Revatlas videos,
Oh yes.
most of it is anyway in 21:9.
Yes.
So for us, I think it's nice. Content will fit in right well on that. But then again, because of the current screen sizes and the aspect ratio being even taller than current phones, I don't know if it'll actually catch on or whether that'll become the final thing. But I did tell this. I actually was talking to Suraj from Tech Devoted, I think last year, and I told him that smartphones will eventually reach 21:9. And I told this a few years back also, I think, because I just saw the trend of it becoming wider and wider and wider. I had a feeling it might reach there. And this year again, I tweeted to him saying that, see, it's actually happening. So we finally have a smartphone after the LG chocolate phone, which has 21:9 aspect ratio, and that's kind of crazy.
The prophecy has come true.
Yeah. But I'll need to kind of use it to know how it is. But
Yeah, like once you use it, then only you can get to know like how good or bad it is. Kind of reminds me of the meme, when iPhone 6 came out, everybody was it's so tall, and then they started making like iPhone 20, iPhone 40, which is like a lightsaber.
Yeah. But that was kind of what they said, right? They went back on their own words. They said that a display can always be taller but not wider, because you can see something that's taller but not wider, which actually is stupid. I think you can see wider, not taller, right?
During this all of this aspect ratio battle, don't you think social media apps fail to adapt quickly? Like if you see, just take an example of Instagram.
Yeah.
If you post a picture, it can't go taller than say 3:4 in aspect ratio.
Yeah. There is a limit. Yes,
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah.
And then Instagram IGTV videos, it's locked to 9:16.
What's IGTV?
Yeah.
Who watches IGTV? That's why they're having to put it on Instagram itself now.
Yeah, so that is locked to 9:16, and then on Instagram stories you can use 9:16, and then 1:2 as well.
Yeah,
So-
it's just weird. Yeah.
It's weird, and it gets cropped everywhere. So the best
Yeah.
thing I've seen is just keep a 16:9 device with yourself, and then use that.
True. But how many devices are there with that now? Maybe the only thing I can think of is the Razr Phone 2.
Oh yes. Razr
That's about it. Nothing else has a 16:9 display, at least in 2019.
Well, more phones should be having 16:9. If they have bezel, I'm fine with it. Like the Razr 2,
Yeah.
then it's fine. Like the speakers are amazing.
Yeah, Razr Phone is insane. Speakers. I mean, I haven't tried the second generation, but the first one, the speakers were crazy. I've heard that the second is even more so. So
That'd be great. Like, do you prefer having high refresh rate screens?
yeah, if there's an option, definitely. But the huge issue, at least with the Razr Phone, is that it takes a huge toll on the battery. The first generation in particular had really bad battery life, and it didn't really depend. The funny thing was, it didn't depend, whether it was at 60 hertz or 90 hertz or 120. But regardless of what you chose, the battery life was bad. So then better use it at 120, right?
Exactly.
So,
You're like,
yeah.
if the battery is going to drain, might as well just use that 120 hertz.
But then I hope many more manufacturers bring it out. At least if not 120, 90 itself is a good place to start.
Same goes for the console gaming, in my opinion. At least bring 1080 60 FPS. Everybody's pushing for 4K, and I still don't have a PS4.
And on that bombshell this time.
Yes. So, for people out there, why don't you tell them where they can find you on the interwebs?
Yeah, so basically youtube.com/Revatlas. That's where you'll see bulk of my content. That's more towards the tech side of things. You'll see that mostly it's content around smartphones or something digital, some electronic items, stuff like that. It's the same handle for Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. And you can also find me on Sandeep Sharma on Instagram. That's SARMA. And Sandeep9 Sharma on Twitter. So yeah, if you like our stuff, do give us a thumbs up. Do hit the subscribe button as well. And like Shimon says, subscribe to PewDiePie as well.
Are you on MySpace by any chance?
No.
You know, some people go there.
Who goes there?
Terrible joke. I regret making that joke. But yeah, it has been really great talking with you.
Same man, same. I didn't realize that it's been over an hour, but I had great fun talking to you as well. And
Yes.
like you said, it's good to see that how an informal conversation can go from A to
MWC.
Z, whatever
From MWC to childhood.
escalate quickly. Yeah,
It can escalate quickly.
yeah. But yeah, it's been great. Thanks for having me.
Yes.
Looking forward to doing this again sometime in the future as well.
Yes, very soon.
Yeah.
And I'll see
Thanks.
you on the internet.
Yes. Bye.
And that's all, folks. That's all for this week's episode. I hope you liked it. And if you did, like, share, subscribe, do your thing. And I'll see you next week. Until then, stay awesome. And if you have any feedback, critique, or comments, do let me know. Hit me up on Twitter at ShimonIPS. That is SHIMONIPS. You can also let me know whom I should bring next on the podcast. You never know. It might be anyone. Anyways, guys, that's it for me. And I'll see you next week.